Okay, so this is problem 5.1.31, and the directions ask us to factor. They give us 2.5 x to the 7th, and, well, you can read the rest of the problem. Okay, so if we think about the numbers separately and then the variables separately, when you're working with a decimal, the easiest way to work with a decimal is to just think about the decimal by itself. Think about the decimal, think about the number without the decimal there. So, for instance, if I think about the number 2.5 and I just move the decimal over one place, and I'm not going to be moving it over, okay, in the problem. I'm just going to think about the number regardless of the decimal sign there. So if I look at that and I think of it as a 25, and then I think of it as a 45, I think of the 2 as maybe a 20, and then the 3.5, I'm just going to think of that as a 35. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm just saying, let me just look at those numbers without the decimal there. To just see if I can identify from these numbers what the greatest common factor would be. So I can see that if I look at the number 25, 45, 20, and 35, they have a greatest common factor of 5. So because I've actually moved the decimal over one in order to, so the GCF of these numbers is 5, because I've moved the decimal over one place in order to identify each of these numbers, what I would want to actually do is move the decimal back over in order to identify the GCF of these numbers. So your GCF of these numbers is actually going to be 0.5. And if you use a calculator, you'll find that that is true. So if we take 0.5, and then for the variables, the greatest common factor is just an x. That's the limiting factor here. We have an x to the first power. Okay. So 0.5x is the GCF, and then what we want to do now is you're going to take 2.5 and divide it by 0.5. That's how we're getting this number right here. And when you do that, you can either use your calculator or you can just think of it again without the decimals there. 25 divided by 5 would be 5. So this is going to be 5x to the 6th. And then here this would be plus 9x to the 5th. And then we're going to have a minus 4x and then a plus 7. Okay? And that's that problem fully factored. So the easiest way to work with factoring decimals is to just think about the numbers regardless, by disregarding the decimal to identify what that GCF is, and then pull it out. When you pull it out, you can either use your calculator or, again, just think about them without that decimal in there. Okay.